Hi, my name is Chris Tabb, and I work here at Pure Cars as the SEO and Analytics Lead. And today we're going to talk about my favorite subject, which is Google My Business. And as you've probably heard, there's been a lot of buzz in the local SEO space right now, especially for automotive dealers when it comes to Google My Business. So I'm going to give you 5 quick tips that you can implement, and then stay tuned to the end of the video because we're also going to give away a 6th tip, which is brand new as well. So stay tuned. So the first thing we're going to talk about is a tool called Local Falcon. Now, keyword position trackers are nothing new, but the difference with Local Falcon is the fact that it allows you to see visually how you rank in different sections of a city, right? Because with Google My Business, that is the difference between local SEO and really Google My Business and Google Maps SEO. So when we think about a position tracker, being able to see, for example, that I'm here in Atlanta today, I'm in Midtown, and if I were to run a scan, I would be here in Midtown and it would show me pins around my immediate area. Now, if you're looking at Local Falcon or you're familiar with it, positions 1 through 3 are going to be green. Then you're going to move into yellow with 4 through 7. And then 8 through 9 is going to be kind of a burnt orange. And then finally red, right? It's kind of the dreaded red, right? 10 and above. And another really cool feature with Local Falcon is you can click on each one of the pins inside the tool and you can see who the competitors are and who's outranking you. All right, our second tip is in regards to Google My Business posts. Now, you're pretty familiar with the post option of Google My Business, but what you may not know is that the efficacy of Google Posts has dropped since they really moved it to the bottom of Google My Business. Now, in response though, Google has also come out with a couple of new post features or types that allow you to regain that spot at the top of Google My Business. So the first is going to be offers, right? Very product driven. You're going to be able to see things like start and end time. You're going to be able to see things like pricing, description. And if you're a dealer, right, you're thinking automatically, oh, right, this is where I can put my inventory in and I can use it in sort of that post avenue. And events is one of the new exciting post types. What events allows you to do is show up in that area below Google My Business, and you'll see things like start and end time. It's also going to have an event title and a description. And we here at Pure Cars, what we're really telling dealers right now is to use that space, right? Maximize that real estate so that you're able to surface up. It could be incentives that are in market. It could be a sales event, right? It could also be maybe just something. Maybe have a performer coming in over the weekend, right? You want to move a little bit of metal and you want to bring somebody in to attract a crowd. You can use this feature as well for that. The additional post type is products. Now, products is very exciting because you can load your inventory into Google My Business. We're going to talk about loading inventory in just a moment because it's still in beta. It won't always be, but I want to save that tip towards the end because it is very exciting. When you load your inventory into Google My Business, what you're going to get is sort of an SRP experience, right? Now, Google hasn't put into place a filter option yet, but when you're in the back of Google My Business, you'll notice that you can break out different vehicles by model. You can do it by trim, right? You can do it by sales. Really, feel free to be creative in this area. But one thing that you want to keep in mind is that the product inventory that is loading, right? When I said it was very much like an SRP experience, keep that in mind as you are looking to invest in your website going forward. If I'm Google, right, it may not be in my interest to continue driving traffic to your website like I have done traditionally, right? So really look at this inventory feature as sort of a first shot across the bow, right? We're going to talk a little bit later also about Persuasive Technology and how this is a great example of that. Now, the Q&A section of your Google My Business is really one of the most underutilized sections of the automotive industry. And what you'll see if you go in there quickly now is you may see nothing, right? You may see something, and it may be intelligent comments about your business, or it may not be. It may be just some nonsense, right? So what we are stressing right now is if you're a dealer, why don't you come up with the top 5 questions that you get from your customers, and then also develop the answers. And if you're working with a resource on your team, whether that be an internet manager, or if you're working with maybe an outside agency who's handling your content, this would be a great time for them to not only put in the questions, right, asking the questions, but then allowing you as the brand or the Google My Business owner to come back and respond, right, in a pre-formatted way. Again, this is all about owning the real estate that's available, increasing the visibility, and really owning that message. Now, great, you probably picked up by now that proximity is a huge signal for Google My Business. And what we get from a lot of dealers is this question of, well, how do I rank beyond my immediate area, right? How do I rank in multiple cities or even neighborhoods or suburban areas right outside maybe an immediate major city? And one of the ways that we've been talking to dealerships about this is start thinking about building local links, right? So working with existing relationships that you already may have with, think about the newspaper, right? You probably put a lot of print ads in there, or you had at one point. Think about local institutions that you may, do some sort of charity work with. Start to leverage those relationships that you can get a link back to your website. The other tip that we talk about is local citations, right? So if you're working with Pure Cars, or if you're working with another vendor who's responsible for making sure that your local citations are in order, that's another piece. You want to make sure that box is checked. And then finally, one of the hottest tips is building an area served page, right? So telling Google that we also service this area, and what we want to do is we want to mention particularly some businesses that are located in that city. So one of the ideas I had originally was putting information in for tow truck drivers or for ATMs that are in a city, right? And linking to them to their Google My Business listing and using a hyperlink, right? Sort of old fashioned there with a little bit of a new spin. Great, thank you for staying with us so far. Our sixth tip is really something that is new and emerging, and I just saw from somebody in the field the other day. And what it is that model level queries, right? So think about this, pre-owned Mercedes GLA 250, right? That's a fairly specific search term. And what we're seeing now is that search term is actually bringing up a Google map, right? And in the past, if you're a car dealer, you've probably been used to paying sort of this online classified ads, sort of format, right? The cars.com, the trades, right? All of this, right? You could not win that search. You just couldn't, right? Because their sites are meant to show up on those types of searches. However, there's been a change recently, and that is that when somebody is looking for that inventory, and if you have that inventory on your website, or if you have that inventory in your Google post, right, or if you have had somebody mention that inventory in a Google review that is on your Google My Business page, all of that information is now being pulled out, and you'll see it inside of that 3-pack, and it'll actually, in italicized language, it'll say their website mentions, right, GLA 250. Or the review mentions GLA 250. And now finally, Google is running an experiment right now with posts where you'll also say a Google post mentioned GLA 250. So these are all very exciting developments. And if I'm a dealer today, it's especially exciting because that potentially could be some budget, right, that I could move around into other areas of my business. Now what I want to leave you with here is this idea that Google is essentially retraining the populace, right? And they're retraining them to do a specific thing or access a website through a different portal than they traditionally have reached a website, right? So what I'm really talking about is prior to Google My Business being such a ferocious force right now in local SEO, you had to typically go down, right, scroll down below the paid ads, get down to your top 10 blue links, right? Click on that and then go into the website. Sometimes you're looking for hours, you're looking for phone number information, right? You're looking for directions. Those are 3 clicks that used to go to your website that I just mentioned that are now being eaten up by your Google My Business, right? So it's that idea of a no-click. Additionally, what I want to talk about is persuasive technology. So think about Amazon one-click ordering, right? Netflix autoplay on the next video, or Facebook feed, right? It's always sort of reloading. It takes the guesswork out of what you're doing. I'm relating that to Google My Business in the sense that we are retraining people, right? Or Google is retraining people. My point here being is that if the goal is to move everybody from one click to no click and frictionless customer experiences, if I am somebody who is going to write a check to a web provider for content this year or maintenance on my website, that's going to give me a lot of pause, and it's going to make me push the folks that I'm working with on that end and have them answer me some basic questions. What are you doing for 0 positions? What are you doing as far as content strategy to tie into my Google My Business? How are you going to help me rank locally in areas that I may not necessarily be very close to, right? They're not in my backyard, they might be 10 miles away. That's still a good customer that we want to reach. Those are the questions that you need to be asking your content provider or your web provider so that you can really be on the top of your game as you move into 2019 and beyond.